Today I'm going to start the process of building a weight bar for my car. The plan is to eventually add a mid plate, and I need something obviously to mount the mid plate to here in the front. I get the additional piece of metal welded across the bottom of this bar. I'm going to put a plate that will go between the two of them, and I'll weld a tab on that, and there'll be another plate of steel running along the length of the transmission here, bolt into these holes, and it'll come forward and it'll bolt to the bar. I am running completely solid mounts, but I don't have any of the torque mounts on the car anymore, and I don't want to run the risk of tearing the mount locations. Alright, here's the plate I'm going to weld onto the traction bar. It's just off a longer piece of steel that I bought to make the mid plate. We put the traction bar up in the car and laid the plate on the transmission. That's where it hit, so I'm going to center that up and weld it onto the bar, and then I'll put a piece of metal in there like that with holes, and it'll allow the mid plate to bolt to the traction bar right there. Alright, got it up in the car here, getting ready to put the mid plate on it. Hopefully it lines up. I'm kind of lucky on this radiator mount here. Well, you can see it. I didn't account for it whenever I put this plate on the bar, but I don't know, there's probably, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch or so clearance on that. Alright, I got the plate welded to the traction bar. I got the little tab that's going to stick out and have the mid plate bolt to it. I've had both sides tacked, and I welded this side here, and I should have clamped it down on the table so it did warp a little bit, but I've got it tacked to the bar now. I'm going to put it up in the car and see how it fits, and then when I weld across here, I'll try and tack it and get it down flat and make sure that this is, you know, square and whatnot. Alright, got everything welded up, both sides of the plate, the tab for the mid plate to bolt to. This side didn't warp too bad. It was the first side that I started welding on, this direction here. The other side, it warped on me a good bit. Maybe should have welded a little bit slower and gave it more time to cool down. Okay, I think it's going to work. I'll have to cut a little bit more off the back side here, about 1 inch or so, 3/4 of an inch. We're hitting the lip of the flywheel here, so I will have to, you know, move it up to at least there or so to catch the bolts good on the transmission that I want to. Okay, here's looking at it from the front. I left the plate hang down a little bit in case I wanted to, you know, add another piece of pipe later on or something. If this was all I was going to do, I could probably cut a little bit of that off, but we'll see if it causes a problem being too low or not. Alright, got the mid plate done. I did use 1/4 inch steel. If I could make a suggestion, maybe use something a little thicker like 3/8, but I'd planned on doubling it up, which I did, so that added some strength to it. It was just a flat piece of steel. Right here I did a big hot weld, just added a little tab of metal, and then, you know, ground it all down and everything. Traction bar with the mid plate. It I don't know if you can see it from here, it did warp on me as well. I think it did the majority whenever I welded this. It kind of bowed this way, but I think it should still work. I did fill the lower pipe full of lead. Right now it weighs about 25 pounds or so. I just want to show you how this plate fits while it's installed. Not a whole lot to see, just 2 bolts there in the transmission. Made a little clearance for the flywheel and 2 bolts up there to the bar. Pretty much more the same on this side. Just bolted to the bar. See the part here where I doubled it up. Made sure there was clearance for the transmission case.